Lady here with the suntan.
Right, I'm going to open by looking right at the camera.
Glory.
Okay.
Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Where are you from, Lori?
Anytime?
I heard of that.
Okay.
Are you a volleyball player?
Oh.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Right now I'm going to talk with the stars, the director, and the writers of the new film Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. Cheech and Chong. Gentlemen,
Hi, Sports Fiends.
Sure.
thanks for taking this time out.
Oh.
Our pleasure.
I guess the first question, most appropriate, or maybe it isn't most appropriate, but I'll ask it anyway. How did the idea for this third film come about?
Oh, about a week before we shot it.
You work quickly, huh?
Yeah.
No, we committed ourselves and we took a vacation and then we thought about it and then we come back and sort of it was a jumble of our experiences, you know, ended up on film. Usually that's the case with Cheech and Chong.
It started evolving of its own as we started writing it. You know.
All right, is there a particular method of work you use when you're writing? Do you write down on one draft and then just constantly add things to it?
We've tried everything, and the best thing that works is to get in front of the camera and do it. Have a general outline where you want to be, and then just go out and be funny.
Yeah.
Anything else, it gets lost in the translation. You know, very few gags you can really sketch out, because when you look at it, you have to, you know, you look at it again, and then you go, well, maybe you second guess yourself at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It's better to go out and do it, and then, you know, have a general outline, do it, and then look at the video and say yes or no. It's very evident then.
Yeah. Video helps us a whole lot.
You know, I'm told that when the Marx Brothers made their films in the 30s, that they would try out a lot of their material on audiences before they would make the film. And what a marvelous way that would be to work, because you would know right away whether audiences would like it.
Well, it works. It worked for them at that period of time.
Well, they never
because
had video. Had they had video, they would have done video.
Also, at that time in film, in the history of film too, most films were film stage plays. And the medium of film has evolved now where you can just create something just for film rather than film in that proscenium kind of
That's what we tried to do with this film, with Nice Dreams. We tried to, we knew we could do the zany, crazy stuff, but we tried to get a little deeper somehow, and we didn't know really, you know, we were searching, looking for it. And there's glimmers in there that I like.
We created stuff that would only work in film.
Yeah.
Somebody very wise probably once said that the best comedy is of its time and for its time. Do you think that's the case?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I mean, nothing's worse than an old, well, not worse, but if you see or hear a joke a few times, it's no longer funny. In fact, it can become the opposite. And so it has to be fresh, and there has to be a surprise element involved, and there has to be a timely element involved, and yeah, absolutely.
Classic comedies are usually instant classic comedies, and they don't wear that well. Even if you look at some of the old films, they don't wear that well.
There will be certain things in them that will probably stand out,
Yeah, the things that pertain to human nature will endure.
I think television helps, in a sense. Like you get two views, say a film that like what we did, Nice Dreams. You get one, view of it from a film, looking in a theater, and then when you see it on television, you'll see things that you never really picked up on theater, and so it gives it another life.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect too.
Right, fans who enjoyed Up in Smoke and next movie, what can they expect from this one? I know it's kind of tough always to give any kind of synopsis of a plot, so I won't ask you to do that, but what do
They
have
can
in store?
expect a growth. There's a growth they may be comfortable with or maybe uncomfortable with. It depends on if you're growing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're still back in the Up in Smoke days, well, then you're going to say, hey, not as good as Up in Smoke. But if you're growing right along with us, I think you'll appreciate what we try to do.
We liked the growth so much that we decided not to have it operated on.
Good description. Well, how do you react to when people tell you, and it's a common fact that, or an uncommon fact, that Up in Smoke is really a cult classic, that people go and see this film. It plays every weekend in some places.
It's the first of its kind. And the first of its kind in anything will always have that audience around it, like the first Jimi Hendrix record, or the first Cheech and Chong record, or the first Sergeant Pepper's or something like that. You know, it's in that kind of category where there's so much emotional investment involved in it by the fans that they, you know, it's a touchstone in their lives, you know, or their cinematic history.
Mm-hmm.
There's a magic to
Yeah.
firstness of anything.
Yeah, first love, you know.
Yeah. First time you ever get laid, you never forget that.
Mhm.
And it may not have been the best, but it was
Probably
first.
was not the best.
Never forget it.
Yeah, you know.
I remember mine last
First
week.
acid trip. Or first
How much money has Up in Smoke made? You know, it's upwards of 100.
According to our publicist, $18 zillion.
yeah.
Okay.
Trillion, million, billion.
That's pretty high.
But
dollars now.
reality, I think, I think we both Up in Smoke and next movie came in about 60 million box office, somewhere in there.
And considering the cost of the two films.
Well,
that
one
is-
was made for less than a mil, and the other one was made for less than 10.
Sure.
So it's a good return on their money, for sure.
It's a good ratio.
How did you two first get together professionally?
What was that? Ad in the Free Press. Learn the joys of rubber clothing. Excessively hairy men need not apply, you know.
I'm not into that anymore. Bringing it up.
I was up in Vancouver dodging the draft, and he was running a topless club, so naturally we got together. And
Now, I had heard that story about the topless club. That's
yeah.
true, though.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I
definitely
had
true.
my family owned we had two nightclubs. One was an after-hours club that I started, and then another club was a club that we purchased. It was a burlesque house to begin with, and I went back there to regroup. I was in a music group, and I quit that, and I was sort of just at loose ends, you know. I went back and started playing around with the shows, you know, trying to put some coherent strip show together. And I got into improv. I got influenced by the Committee in Second City. And I went back and I put a little topless improvisational review together. And it was fun,
Yeah,
it was great,
Yeah, it was just
incredible.
great.
We might make a movie about it someday, because it really was incredible.
I'm trying now to visualize a coherent topless improvisational
It was
review.
burlesque.
It was funny.
Yeah.
See,
Naked burlesque.
if you're into strip shows, like I was at that time, I used to play a lot of them and work with them. And the girls are very, very wise, streetwise, you know, tough as nails and beautiful bodies and everything. And the only thing was never brought out was their intellect or their humor. And what I did, I had them do skits where they would come in with their street clothes on, which were usually a knockout. You know, they'd be beautiful. Like at the time, the hippies, or like a couple of hippie girls and a couple of straight, you know, European types. And I had them start from there, and then we'd do a skit where they'd get naked from their street clothes, which was a stunning effect. I mean, people would just stop them. I mean, because, you know, here she comes walking off the street up on stage, and she's starting to disrobe, which is different from the boas and the lace and all the other crap.
Number 5, you know.
So then I had another partner, a long-haired, bearded guy, that we used to do humor in between the girls coming out and with the girls. And then we evolved into this tight-knit improvisational group, and then Cheech come along. I was always looking for actors, and Cheech came along, and he was like a bit player for a long time. He stood in the wings and learned, and then when everybody else split, there comes a time when everybody has to go to the hills and get their head together. And everybody
I had
split.
been to the hills already.
And Cheech was still hanging around, and so we just said, hey, let's do something together, and we came up with Cheech and Chong.
All right, when you're preparing an album or a script or whatever, getting back to an earlier question, what method do you use? Do
Rhythm.
one or the other of you think of the
We
think
used
of
to
the,
use foam, but you know.
No, it's the rhythm method.
Yeah.
If it's got the rhythm, it'll work.
Yeah.
but nobody comes up first with the idea and says, hey, you want to give me a line to go with this?
Oh,
or
sure. A lot of times.
Yeah.
Whoever gets the idea. And it's interesting, too, because at one time we tried to keep score, and you can't. You physically can't. You forget whose idea it was,
Yeah,
because it gets changed. And so I usually am the initiator, but then after it goes through Cheech's brain and intellect and talent, it comes out something else. And so that's the magic of a partnership.
It keeps going back and forth, like, you know.
It's a really a true collaboration.
It really
So,
is. It keeps going back and forth, like, and I've even in this movie I've tried to think about, well, I thought of this, but no, I just thought of that, and then he said, let's do it this way, and then I thought, yeah, well, let's do it that, and then let's do it this way, and then it keeps going back and forth like that. So you never.
For
You
the
never should.
longest time, I was trying to find some form, some way in which to, you know, to see who does what, and it's physically impossible. You can't. So you just, it's yin and yang, you know. You can't have one without the other, and that's what Cheech and Chong are about.
All right, in directing this movie, was it any more of a challenge?
Oh, it was a tremendous challenge. The first one, and the second one was easier in one respect, and then harder in other respects, because I started becoming a real, like, bona fide director, and it started pulling Cheech and I apart, because I couldn't spend the time together that we should be spending. And so the next movie we'll have we're going to get a director we both can direct.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
it'll be easier.
I just wonder where, you know, objectivity comes into that, because when you're a director, when you're directing
think it
yourself
ever
and your own
comes in.
material.
It's almost impossible at some point to, you know, just
You got the
to put
magic
yourself out.
video machine there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a scene, you look at it on video, and then usually there's somebody technically around that can show you how to do it better or capture it better. And it's a team effort. All film is just a team effort, and you got to be a team player. And that's what we found out that we could do very well.
This is probably an unfair question. It's like naming your favorite child or whatever. Is there a favorite part of the film for you, of Nice Dreams?
Of Nice Dreams?
Yeah. A scene in it that you just particularly love?
They change.
Yeah.
They change.
Really?
According to the audiences.
I think the weightlifting scene was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Because Cheech didn't think it was particularly funny. And it proved to be one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
I like the kitchen scene
Yeah.
when we're in there,
Yeah.
because it was just it was so natural.
We put a lot of different types of humor in this movie, because we got influenced by different types. And I didn't realize it till we started talking to the press, and everybody's a different type. And
Even going along during the film.
Yeah. And we found out that we hit the middle road. The extremists on either end didn't particularly care for it. You know, the extreme Cheech and Chong fan and the extreme anti-Cheech and Chong fan, they didn't care for it. The middle road people, they liked it. And so I feel from that feedback that we probably will touch more people with this movie than with the other ones, hopefully.
Well, if you get the extremes and the middle of the road, I think you got a hit here.
That's about it.
I want to thank you both for taking this time out. It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim.